Good morning. Get a 2000 Toyota Camry in the shop today. Gonna be doing some maintenance on here, timing belt and water pump service, as well as resealing the oil pump. So let's get into this. So this being a 4-cylinder, it's not terribly hard, and the car seems to have been well kept. So we're just gonna start removing all this stuff, timing covers. I'm gonna drain the coolant. Gotta remove all the belts. Here's a look through the passenger side wheel well. So as you can see right here, this is the oil pump. Let me focus. So as you can see right here, this is the oil pump. It's sort of moist right there. So we always change this. There's an O-ring behind here. We always change that when we do these timing belts. Just good practice. Hey guys, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It costs nothing and it really helps with that YouTube algorithm. Thank you. Quick check-in. So here on the cam, you see this hole right there where this S is. You have to turn the crank till that hole lines up with this mark back here. So you're gonna spin it clockwise until the mark is directly behind that circle. So let's do that real quick. So we got that lined up, the hole in the notch. Another way to verify is looking down at the crank. That white line will be matched up with the 0. Timing covers are off, and here you can see the oil pump. See how it's leaking at that seal behind the pulley? It's also a common leak. We also have that seal, so we're gonna work on unbolting this thing and putting the new gaskets on because the coolant is actually still draining, so we're way ahead on time, which is a good thing. Be careful when removing these pumps because it's two pieces and you don't want anything to fall to the floor. So here I'm just making sure that that other piece stayed on the block. Now I add a couple dabs of Honda Bond here just to hold the new gasket in place because it likes to fall out. The last thing you want to do is kink that gasket and have a major oil leak afterwards. When reinstalling the pump, you're gonna have to turn this shaft here back and forth just to line up the pump, and also there are little dowel pins, so you have to line those up as well. So just be real slow and careful and meticulous so you don't pinch this gasket. Here on the back of the new water pump, I already got the gasket lined up, and I'm using these bolts here to hold them in place. You just kind of press it onto the block and start the bolts. Okay, check in from the bottom. I just put this pulley on, slid this gear on, and installed this gear. One thing to keep in mind, make sure this turns. Sometimes the gear can get wedged on the inside. You'll have to loosen all of these, take it back off, and realign it just so that it doesn't get wedged. So we're going to lower the car, get this belt on, and we're in reassembly. Here I'm removing all the tension from the timing belt tensioner, and I tighten it just so it makes it easier to slide the new belt over. In my opinion, this era of Toyotas and even Hondas, like the late 90s and early 2000s, these were some of the most reliable cars ever built. Like, you just barely see any problems with these things. Like, they have leaks and they need maintenance, and that's about it. Things don't really fail on them. So you keep one of these things alive and it's gonna last a long time. Here you see me using one of my favorite timing belt tricks, just using one of these little paper clips to hold the belt in place while you tighten the tensioner. If you guys have watched my previous videos on timing belts, you know my method for installing the timing belt starts when I remove it. So I had the crank bolt loose earlier before I set it to TDC, and then whacked it off so that nothing moved. And then that sets me up so that when I put the belt on, as long as I maintain tension on this side and everything is tight all the way around, and the only loose point is here where the tensioner is, you're gonna be in time. So that's what I did. So now we just gotta throw the timing covers back on, fill this thing up, run it, bleed it, done. got this puppy reassembled, so we're in the car. Let's fire this thing up. Sweet, sounds good. Let's go check out the outside. Alright, sounds good. So as you can see, this actually wasn't that hard. I mean, removing these timing covers on the 4 cylinders pretty easy. These belts are easy. This is like the best Toyota to work on. Let's take a look underneath. Oh, old belt. No oil is dripping, so good sign that we did everything correctly. But I'm just gonna let this thing bleed. Take it for a test drive, make sure everything's good, and we're gonna give it back to the customer. So, another one done. Thanks again for watching.